Am I the a-hole for requesting my best friend be at the birth of my child instead of my husband? So I, 25 female, have been best friends with Eric, 25 male, since we started kindergarten. He was there throughout everything, even spied from the next table when me and my 26 male husband went on our first date, and I did the same when he started dating his wife. I was the first person he called when his wife found out she was pregnant both times, and even while she was in labor, I helped him by text. So April, when I suspected I was pregnant, he was with me when I read the results of my test, even helped me plan a cute way to tell my husband. We have been each other's rock, and I couldn't think of anyone better than him and my husband to be there while I'm in labor. But unfortunately, if things keep happening the way they do, I'll be only able to have one person in the room with me, and that person will be Eric. He was on board, and I planned to tell my husband when I knew for sure. At the moment, it's normal rules, but obviously things can change over a bug issue at any time. But Eric's wife found out and showed up at my house, screaming for a paternity test because she believes the baby is his. It's 1000% not. My husband was in shock and told me he's sick of third-wheeling our relationship, then packed a bag then left. Eric also sent me a text saying he wants to be with me when I go into labor, and he will be limiting our contact from now on. I'm honestly in shock at the events and have gotten so much hate. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Do you even love your husband? Is that his child too? I feel like your friend is the father if you'd rather want him in the room. There are definitely times when having someone other than the father of the child be in the room is okay. For example, abusive, no longer together, can't handle the sight of the process, generally squeamish, not a very good comforter, etc. Those things happen. But there's certainly a list of okay substitutes and not okay substitutes. A doula? Sure. Your mom? Go right ahead. Your platonic opposite sex best friend when you're still married? Laughing my butt off. You're the a-hole. Platonic opposite sex BFF, whose wife thinks your baby is actually an affair baby? Massive, you're the a-hole. She went nuclear for a reason. Your husband has a third person in the marriage. Eric. Eric's wife has a third person in the marriage. You. Look, I have a guy best friend and he's literally like my brother, and I tell him lots of things and he's a huge cheerleader of mine. However, I also have boundaries with him. I wouldn't be telling him I was pregnant over my own significant other first. I wouldn't be expecting him to be calling me as his wife was in labor. Like really, get your wife to the hospital, duh. You all can be close, but clearly both of your spouses feel like you have overcrossed a lot of lines. Why did you even marry your husband? Why did Eric even marry his wife? You're the a-hole. This comment is spot on. The part that jumped out to me was that Eric has decided to limit contact in order to maintain his marriage. That means he understands that there is a line you don't cross when it comes to marriage versus friendship. But she is still clueless. If she had said that her husband will be an absolute nightmare in the delivery room based on past experience, I would kinda understand. If not, she is taking away a significant life experience from him. You're the a-hole. Holy moly. You always have the right to choose who you want in the delivery room with you. However, if you choose someone that is your life partner, what does that say about your relationship with him? What does that say about how you feel around them? If you don't feel safest and or trust the individual who you are married to, and the father of your child, then what exactly are you doing here? Is husband your beard? A sap who you can use as a shield to deflect any accusations of having an emotional affair with Eric in front of his wife's face? Your husband is right, and ironically, he is literally the third wheel in his own marriage. Yuck. I'd seriously contemplate things at this point too. But I feel so awful for your husband. He deserves to be with someone who puts him first and wants him there for the birth of his child. I hope your future ex-husband finds someone who wants to be a partner in life and parenting, because you obviously don't. Sorry, but I think you're getting everything you deserve. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my parents to be anything more than guests in my wedding? I, 27 female, am the only child of an only child, my mom, and a son of a single woman, my dad, and we are firmly middle class. When I was 8, my aunt, her husband, and my nana were in a fatal car accident. As a result, my cousins, 6 male triplets, were taken in by my parents. Up until then, my mom was a teacher, but with the kids and all they needed, intensive therapy and constant reassurance, she quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom. My dad got a small inheritance from my nana that he used to pay off the house. As for my aunt's life insurance and her husband's, they were split into 3 and put in college funds for my cousins. From ages 8 to 13, my parents were too focused on my cousins that they forgot they had a daughter, and the money was so tight that I had to quit all of my hobbies. Because my cousins' hobbies were expensive and that they needed to make sure that they maintained the same standard of living for them. At 13, my maternal grandparents sat me down. They said that my parents drained my college fund, and that they were threatened by my parents of no contact if they tell me, but that I was old enough to keep the secret. They also said that they will be giving me what they could when I go to college. I guess that was it for me. I stopped seeing my parents as anything more than an egg and sperm donor at the point. Fast forward to when my cousins started going to college, and I guess my parents remembered that they had a kid, but I wasn't interested in having a relationship with them beyond an occasional phone call. Now I am about to get married. I asked my grandpa to walk me down the aisle and my grandma to take on the traditional mother of the bride role for me. Then, because I'm direct like that, I handed my parents their invites in person and told them that they are welcome only as guests or not at all. They got angry, and when they asked why, I just laid it out on them. And now they're trying to apologize, but it is too little too late for me. My cousins contacted me trying to make me take it back, offered me what was left in their college fund since they didn't know that I didn't have one, to make it fair. I refused, of course. It's more the emotional neglect that hurts, not the money. But a friend said that I was too harsh, that I should forgive and forget. So am I the a-hole? Your parents are lucky you invited them. I hope you can have separate relationships with your cousins though. We do have a relationship. I never held it against them and they are genuinely nice people. I'm so sorry. This should never have happened to you. But I'm so glad you have your grandparents. Not today, Hall, and I'm happy you're honoring them on your day. Congrats on your upcoming wedding. I hope it's a beautiful day. I do have to add, your cousins didn't know, so maybe at some point you won't be mad at them, if even you are. Thank you for the congratulations, and I don't hold it against my cousins. They were actually going to be part of the wedding, but after some discussions, they preferred not to smooth things with the parents. Not today, Hall. It was really nice of your cousins to offer to make things fair, but it's not on them. They couldn't control what happened to them or how your parents treated them. That was your parents' job. It's understandable that they prioritized your cousins at first to make sure they were all settled in and recovering, but lying to you about your college fund and using it behind your back was awful, to be honest. Ultimately, they'll have to live with it as it is your wedding and your choice. Honestly, I don't even care about the college fund. It was the lack of care, making me give up my bedroom, refusing me therapy because I didn't need it, not like your cousins. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she has always had it easy? Me, 25 female, and my sister, 25 female, were very close when we were young, but things changed when our father passed away and our mother had to raise us alone. She, according to me, has always favored my sister over me. It wasn't blatant favoritism, she still cared for me and loved me, but my sister was allowed to go to school dances, dye her hair, wear expensive makeup, buy expensive dresses, things which I wasn't allowed to do. My sister changed, and during middle school she became the popular girl, while I was the nerd. She often ridiculed me during school and I complained to my mother about this. She comforted me but never really did anything about the situation. All of this built up resentment for my sister inside me. Every day when I went to school, I had to face her torment. However, I convinced myself that what she was doing right now didn't matter, that I would end up happier in life because I worked way harder than she did and would end up successful. I got into my dream college after school, and my mother was really happy for me. But at the same time, my sister had failed in some of her subjects and had to repeat the year, so my mom didn't want to go out for dinner to celebrate since it would upset my sister. Fast forward a couple of years, and my sister is getting married to a very rich man. I was very happy for her and attended her wedding. I had a job and was doing pretty good for myself financially, but was under a lot of stress due to high working hours. While I was talking to my sister, she said to me and her friends how sad it must be for me to have worked so hard for all those years and still be so unhappy with my life, while she was enjoying hers. She told me that I should have worked smart like her instead of working hard. I got very angry at her and told her that failing school and then deciding to drop out of college was not working smart, and that not everyone was as lucky as her to be born with a pretty face and get married to a rich guy they met on Tinder, even though she herself was a loser. After that, I left. Later, I got a call from my mom telling me that my sister started crying after what I said to her, and that it ruined my sister's special day due to my jealousy. She told me not to show my face to her before I was ready to apologize. What my mom said was definitely true. My mom's subtle favoritism towards her popularity in school, the fact that she has a husband and I'm lonely, And the fact that I have to work hard all my life and still work 12 hours a day to earn money, while she gets served everything on a silver platter while sitting at home, has made me very jealous of her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She'll be divorced in a few years, and you'll have all the success you worked so hard for. Your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's misery, but on taking ownership of your own life and being satisfied with who you are and what you're able to accomplish. Not the a-hole. Your sister rubbing her success in your face while demeaning your hard work is horrible. And like the previous comment said, she will likely be replaced once her hubby finds the next pretty face, especially if she has the personality and entitlement you describe. Hopping on the top comment to suggest that you consider therapy. You admit that you are jealous and lonely, and you clearly have resentment towards your family due to bullying and neglect. Now is the time to live your life. Living well is the best revenge, so see if there are avenues to help you with your issues, so that all those bad moments from the past don't intrude on the life you are building for yourself now. Something to consider, OP. Part of therapy may be to go low contact or even no contact with your sister and mother. Seems like you've really struggled with identity issues due to the favoritism. As far as marriage goes, when you find the right person, chances are you will, it will have more substance than your sister's marriage. She seems very materialistic and relies too heavily on physical appearance. But at some point, her looks will fade and or her husband will stop dealing with her entitlement unless she changes. Focus on yourself. Find hobbies to distract you from the BS. As far as your employment goes, making money is great, but you have to ask yourself, is the money worth the stress? If you can say yes, great. Chances are you'll say no and you should seek new employment. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that I can't wait to move out and leave her with my siblings? This post might run long, but there's some backstory required. So I, female 25, currently live with my parents along with my siblings, female 26 and male 23. None of us pay rent because my parents want us to save up. Both my sister and I have full-time jobs after going to university and have stable careers. My brother was spoiled since he was young and dropped out of college twice and currently works with my dad, meaning he goes to work when he feels like it, once a week and for 1 hour. Other than that, he doesn't do anything in the house and sleeps all day, and neither does my sister. Alongside my mom, I cook and clean for them, since I know how to as I was the only one who moved out for college. My mom or dad don't force them to do anything, so they don't. They don't know how to cook or clean. They also have no plans to move out, whereas I do once I save enough money. I keep trying to tell my parents that they need to force my sister and brother to grow up, and that they can't be so reliant on them for basic necessities that an adult should be able to do for themselves. But my parents are adamant that it's fine. Here's where it got really bad. I was in a work meeting and I was stressed out, and my parents asked me to make dinner for my siblings. And I said I couldn't and that my siblings can easily get dinner started. She said no because my brother was sleeping at 6 p.m. and my sister was at home. I said this is getting too ridiculous and that I can't wait to move out so that my parents can deal with their adult children alone. I told them to not come whine to me when my siblings are 40 and still living at home. I feel terrible because my parents do a lot for me too, but I feel like the Cinderella of this story. And I feel taken for granted because I know how to survive as an adult. Not the a-hole. Your parents needed to hear that. Hopefully it will sink in. Besides, there's a difference between helping your parents who helped you versus slaving for 2 lazy adult children who haven't done anything for you. Honestly, this is ridiculous. They want you to cook for a 26-year-old and a 23-year-old? Are they toddlers? You are right that your parents are in for a hell of a time once you move out. If they had been under my grandma, she would have kicked them. Start cooking normal meals for you and your parents and kid meals for your siblings. Tiny servings of frozen chicken nuggets and chips, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, microwave mac and cheese. And for maximum effect, get them a cheap plastic kid meal toy each. Yeah, I'm petty. Not today, home. The truth hurts. You should fast forward your plans to get out of there. Your peace of mind will thank you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my son on my parents' behalf to stop speaking his native language? I am originally from Egypt, but moved to Sweden after I unintentionally became pregnant while on vacation several years back. My parents were enraged at the news, since I wasn't married to the father of my child, so I decided to separate from them and move to Sweden and married my husband. We now have a son, 15, and our cat. I recently convinced my husband and son to move to Egypt, and things have been a little rough. Our son has been fighting me left and right. One of the main reasons I wanted to move back was because my parents and I have made peace, but they do not want any Swedish spoken in their presence as it isn't their language. My son knows Arabic as a second language, but he refuses to speak it when he doesn't have to, instead speaking in Swedish for most of the time. My parents have told me they don't like it, and I don't like it either. I find it disrespectful, and I feel like Sweden isn't part of our lives anymore. So I asked my son if he could stop speaking the language, at least not constantly. He called me Nahal and hasn't spoken to me. I don't want to involve my husband because he's been very stressed lately. I hope someone sees my point of view. Now for the comments. This may be the post that earns A-Hall of the Week. Sweden is all your son has ever known. That's his entire life that you just appended to please your honestly awful parents. Saying that Sweden isn't part of our lives anymore is horrid. The world doesn't revolve around you or your desires. You sound like a narcissistic parent based on those comments, and your complete disregard for your son's emotional state. You're the a-hole. Exactly this. Sweden may no longer be part of your life, but it is very much of your son's life. It is all he has known until you persuaded your family to move to please your parents, who has suddenly had a change of heart and want to know you. Sweden will also be part of her life in the future. Her husband is Swedish. Unless they fully cut contact with his family and all friends from the past 16 years. Pretty sure Sweden will be her son's entire life when he escapes her in 2 to 3 years. Am I the a-hole for kicking my husband out after he made a tantrum because my son refuses to call him dad? My husband, Josh 30, and I 32 female, have been married for over a year and dated for 5. I have a son, Sam, 12, from a previous relationship. My ex and I are nowhere near friends, but he's an amazing father towards our kid in every possible way. My kid adores his father and they look pretty much alike. Josh and I have been trying to get pregnant for 2 years without success because he has a low count. We've tried everything, but right now we can only hope that it happens naturally since we can't afford more treatments. I guess that out of sadness, Josh has been around Sam a bit more, trying to get him to do things together and spend some time. Sam loves him, but he sees my husband as an authority or uncle figure and not like a dad. Now, Josh has been trying to get Sam to call him dad or father since we began to try to have a baby because he doesn't want my son to feel left out. But Sam has refused every single time and continues to call him Josh, and it's okay. I had a talk with my husband about how Sam just prefers his name and that it's nothing personal, and after a few more times, Josh desisted. But right now, my husband has begun to try again, and Sam continues to refuse, saying that he already has a daddy, and that he doesn't like the pressure Josh puts on him. I've tried to talk to my husband again, but every time he just says that it's not fair my ex gets all the credit while he's been a father figure for my kid half of his life. I told him that we cannot force Sam to call him something he doesn't want to, and that not being called dad doesn't make him less than my ex. I thought that was it, but yesterday while we were having dinner, Sam told my husband, "Josh, look at this," and my husband totally snapped. He grounded my son and took a switch, saying that unless he starts to call him dad, he won't get it back. Sam was almost crying, and I told him that none of that was going to happen because we won't force him to do something he doesn't want to. My husband began to throw a tantrum about how it's not fair, how Sam's looks so much like my ex that it's always a reminder that he deserves more respect. I told him to get out of the house until his mind is clear and doesn't feel that fighting a kid is right. I get that Josh feels desperate and hurt, but I don't think that making Sam call him dad is the right move. However, I could be wrong. I know that my ex won't have any problem sharing the title, and I'm afraid I might be the a-hole for not taking Josh's feelings into consideration. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're standing up for your son and what he's comfortable with. Your husband has absolutely no right to force this, or get mad when your son doesn't like it. Your husband is the a-hole, all the way. Protect your son. Husband needs therapy to deal with the struggles he's facing. Wanting to be a father doesn't give you the right to bully and force a child into calling you dad. This. AITA is full of stories about childless step-parents who try to force their step-kids to treat them like full parents, and ended up not only alienating the kids from themselves, but also from the bi-parent they're married to. You need to have a serious talk with Josh and insist on therapy for him, with maybe a family component, so that he can hear Sam's feelings on the matter in a situation that will allow him to really hear them. Not the a-hole. Yep. My dad forced us to refer to my stepmother as mom as soon as they married. I was 13 at the time and my bio mother had always been our primary caregiver. Despite the fact that she made no effort to get to know or connect with us, They would both throw tantrums if we didn't celebrate her on Mother's Day, or in any way speak or act as though she was not our bio mom. His reasoning was that she didn't have her own children, so we owed that to her. 3 out of 4 of us are completely no contact as adults. You cannot force children to feel a certain way about you. It's just going to drive the kid further away. Not stay home. Put your son first. Your husband is out of line, and being upset with your son for looking like your rags is messed up. Real love doesn't divide or require titles. Your son is never going to feel comfortable with a stepfather acting like this, and you have a duty to protect him. You did exactly what you should have. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother and sister that I can't support them in what they are doing? The gist of this is, 3 years ago my siblings and I found out our mom had cheated on our dad for several years of their marriage. We found out at the same time. Then we all took a DNA test, and only I was my dad's bio kid. It destroyed my parents' marriage, and Dad walked away from Mom. My sibling said that at the time he was their dad no matter what, and he said they were his kids no matter what, and never wanted them to feel otherwise. A year ago, they decided they wanted to meet their bio fathers. I noticed that at the time that it really stung my dad that they had any interest, though he never said anything or acted differently, not even to me when I tried to be a shoulder to lean on. Both of my siblings met their bio fathers, and both have built relationships up with these men. Now, my sister has decided she wants both dads to walk her down the aisle. It crushed our dad. He admitted to me afterward that he felt like he wasn't good enough, and he had a mixture of emotions because he never signed up to be one of the dads in the picture. He never wanted to be a co-dad. But now he is because his ex-wife had so many affairs. What makes it worse is these new relationships are getting more time, and he is noticing he sees them less because they are busy working on their bio relationship. My siblings have mentioned wanting to invite these bio fathers to family events and dinners. They want our dad to meet them, and they want a life where both men have the title for each. I told them I can't support this, that this is killing our dad, and I can't stand to see what this is doing to him. They said he's still their dad, but I told them they have essentially cast him aside in favor of these other fathers, and given he's the one who was there their whole lives, they can't expect everyone to be happy and be fine with us. My brother said he doesn't really love them if he doesn't want this for them, and they both called me nay for refusing to support them as their baby sister. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's one thing to meet a bio dad, but walking her down the aisle? Some guy had slept with a married woman with kids, and he gets equal billing as the guy who raised her? Your dad has to walk down the aisle with him like he's his gay husband, the dude his wife cheated with, and who kid now picks too. I understand wanting to meet his bio dad, but this is just mean. The kids are allowed to want to build a relationship with their bio dad. That is normal. It seems to me like it is the same as loving your mom and dad, except that they love their dad, and they need to get to know these new dads. We don't know if those men knew that they were sleeping with a married woman, or even if they knew that they had kids until they were contacted. The first dad needs to express his hurt to the kids in a calm manner using I statements. I feel hurt that you spend less time with me, I am left feeling less loved, etc. And the siblings need to reassure their first and main proper dad that they still love him, and reinforce that bond. I don't think that kids are a-holes though, not from what was said in the original post. Opie's dad isn't saying they can't have those relationships. He's saying it hurts him to be asked to spend time with the man his wife ducked behind his back. And that's fair. That can have 2 fully separate relationships they just won't. I think it's strange that the sister expects the dads to be buddies and walk her down the aisle. The dad clearly doesn't want anything to do with those other men. Not stay home. It's understandable that your siblings want to get to know their bio dad. Of course, this is going to hurt your dad, but you can't blame your siblings for that. But it is ridiculous that your siblings want your dad to have any kind of a relationship with their bio dads. These are the guys that his wife cheated on him with. No a-holes here except the cheating mom who caused all this drama. It's natural for a person, your siblings, to want to know about their biological roots, and if they were able to connect with those people, that's their choice to make. It's natural for your dad to feel hurt at having to share the title of dad with a man who helped his wife cheat on him for kids he raised. I wouldn't blame him if he said no to walking your sister down the aisle alongside her bio dad. Again, a man who helped his wife cheat on him. It's natural for you to be indignant on your dad's behalf and want no part of hurting him, and not being able to understand a point of view of your siblings who say they consider your dad their dad, but don't seem to take into consideration how much their actions are hurting him. And you are not obligated to take part in supporting hurting your dad by supporting their choices if you don't want to. Next story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at these two ladies at the park about my brother? So I'm 20. My parents had a surprise pregnancy when I was 16. My little brother is 3 now, and we're close. My dad died last year from COVID in December. It has been hard on all of us, especially my mom taking care of my little brother. I'm not in school right now, so in the mornings, me and him go to the park. Not a lot of people that early except these two ladies who were there with their kids. They were sitting by the swings, and I had my brother with me playing on the slides. But they kept looking at us. Even when I look at them, they'd keep staring. Then my brother wanted to go to play in the sandbox, which is by the swings. We walk past them, and they literally don't hide that they are looking at us. And then they say to each other, "Are kids still doing this?" And then I heard, "That poor baby." So they thought he was my son, which, yeah, makes sense. But openly talking crap? That got me mad. Normally, I don't do stuff like this. But I want to talk to them with my brother playing in the sand, and I asked them to say that again. Now they looked shocked. They try to act like they don't know what I'm talking about. So I asked the lady, "Are kids still doing what?" "That's my freaking brother." Then she was saying sorry she didn't know that, and thought I was his dad. And I told her no. Our dad died a few months ago, and I like to take him out because obviously my dad can't do that anymore. I was really mad. They said sorry for what they said, but all I told them that next time, don't freaking judge people's lives. It really got me, I don't know why, but didn't like the way they were being. I didn't hear them talking anymore. My mom saw me mad when we came home, so I told her everything. The reason she thinks I'm the a-hole was that I was still rude to these old ladies. It is not their fault that they didn't know. But still, to me it's like, so what if we weren't brothers and it was a dad with his kid? They still shouldn't be saying crap, and they were loud enough that I could hear it. But maybe I'm wrong? I don't know. That's why I'm asking here. Now for the comments. First, I am so sorry for your loss. I'm glad that your little brother have such a good brother to care for him. Also, not the a-hole. Those nosy people need to mind their own business. I like to take him out because obviously my dad can't do that anymore. Well said, and well deserved. I hope you made them feel bad for being so quick to judge, and that they will think twice next time. And like, so what if he was his kid? Mistakes happen to teenagers all the time. They should have been impressed that he was being such a good father and actively taking part in his kid's life in that case. They just wanted to talk bad, because they were bored judgmental old ladies with nothing better to do with themselves. Kudos to Opie for being such a good big brother and role model to his little brother. Not stay home. Even if you were his dad, that still doesn't justify that disgusting comment. They were being judgmental pricks about something that has nothing to do with them. It doesn't matter that they didn't know or whatever. They assumed you were a single young father and decided to crap on you for that. That in and of itself is disgusting, and they deserve to be told off. You're a badass, my dude, and an awesome big brother. You're teaching that kid how to be a badass, upstanding guy too, by doing things like that. It's important that he understands that he doesn't just have to take abuse like that out of fear of being rude. Not stay home. I'm so very sorry for your loss. May your dad's memory bring you comfort. You are also a great big brother. Those women were completely out of line. You could have been watching a sibling, relative, neighbor, or parenting your own child. No matter which, you were doing it right. Those women were rude AF. They may keep their mouths shut next time. They probably won't be less judgy, but they may be polite about it, so you did a good thing for society. I hope so, because that pissed me off so much. Wouldn't even matter if he wasn't my brother but my kid. They still said it out loud, and for like what reason? Last story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend she cannot leave our 7-month-old child in the bath unsupervised even for 10 seconds? My girlfriend, 30 female, and I, 30 male, have 2 young kids, 2 years and 7 months. My girlfriend is doing a pretty good job with the kids. She always makes sure they have everything they need. She plays with them a lot. She's a caring mom, and she loves her kids more than anything. No doubts about that. The thing is that we've been fighting for a couple of days now about a situation that happened this weekend. She was giving a bath to the youngest in the bathroom while I was in the living room with the oldest. Everything was good, until I turned my head and saw her out the bathroom looking for her cell phone while the youngest was still in the bath. Couldn't stop myself from screaming, "What are you doing?" "The kid is still in the bath. You go back to the bathroom and look for your cell phone later." From which she replied, "Oh my god, calm down. There's only 1.5 inches of water in the bath. Plus I only took 10 seconds to go and grab my cell phone." She went right back to the bathroom, cell phone in hands, where she finished bath time. Half an hour later, when she came back with a newly cleaned and suited baby in the living room, I told her that she can't do those kinds of things. I told her that I find this highly irresponsible to leave a 7-month-old baby unsupervised in the bath, even if it's only for 10 seconds. That her cell phone could have waited since there were no emergencies. I told her clearly I never want it to happen ever again. She told me I was overreacting, that she was only out of the bathroom for 10 seconds, that there was only 1.5 inches of water in the bath, and that there's nothing wrong about this. The discussion pretty much ended there. The kids were there, and it was clearly not the time and place to have this kind of discussion. Plus, the girlfriend was leaving with the kids for the day to go see her parents. Note, the visit was planned, and her leaving for the day was not related to the fight we just had. Next day, I asked her if she had time to think about what happened. She was super defensive. She told me that I was still overreacting. She deviated the subject and told me how, sometimes, I forgot to close the stair gate, and how that could be very dangerous for the kids. I stopped her there. I told her that forgetting to close the stair gate was also very dangerous, but that it was a mistake I don't want to make again, unlike the bath scene where she would 100% do it again. There's nothing wrong making a mistake if we can admit it and learn from it. Girlfriend told me I had nothing to say in what she does when she takes care of the kids, that I was being paranoid and overprotective. It's been a couple of days now. I'm still mad. She's still mad. I don't feel like going back to her saying, "I'm sorry," to settle this fight and move on. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. She is 100% wrong on this. Babies can drown in an inch of water very quickly. Have her read an article about it, especially the part that says you must stay within arm's reach of a child in a bathtub at all times. Yep, not only do hundreds of babies drown this way, thousands of children under 5 are treated for non-fatal incidents from this exact thing: lack of adult supervision. That was more than enough water for the baby to have drowned. Not the a-hole. Definitely not the a-hole. I'm an ICU registered nurse in pediatrics. I've unfortunately cared for many children who ended up brain dead and ended up donating their organs after being left alone in the bathtub. If your girlfriend can't or won't commit to not doing this again, then she should not be on bath duty for either of your children. And frankly, I personally would consider how safe I felt leaving them alone with her at all. Not the a-hole. I literally Googled, how shallow can water be for kids to drown? Answer across the board? Less than 2 inches of water. Googled, how fast can a child drown? Less than 30 seconds. She is absolutely 100% wrong, and she knows it. That's why she's being defensive. This is about the safety of your kids. It is the hill you should die on. I don't have any advice on how to talk to her again, but it's super important she gets it into her head. It never leaves your kids unattended in or around water. Period. First story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for kicking my half-brother out when he was handing guests invitations at my wife's funeral?" My male 39, wife of 6 years, passed away from breast cancer 3 weeks ago. It's devastating, and I'm barely holding it together. I used to sleep either at the hospital or my dad and stepmom's house. He supported me at the time, and I also have a 29-year-old half-brother. My brother's wedding is in 3 months. When I came from the hospital and sat and cried, he brought up the wedding planning with his mom and talked about the venue/menu and ignored me. He made backhanded comments like, "I can't imagine this happening to my fiancé," saying I'm not doing enough, constantly comparing me to him, and how he would have done more. I stopped going. I'd rather sit alone in an empty house than listen to him. At the funeral, he came with my stepmom. His phone didn't stop ringing. Everyone noticed. Then later, when the guests were sitting inside the house, he kept asking about certain relatives to see if they came. I was with my dad at the time. Once the guests started leaving, I saw my brother standing by the door, handing guests envelopes, then shaking their hands as they walk out. I didn't know what he was handing them, so I walked up to him and asked him. He showed me invitations for his wedding that he was handing out to guests. I was stunned. I asked if he was serious. He said there are some relatives/family that live out of town who came to the funeral, and he wanted to do an actual hand delivery from his hand to theirs, saying mailing invitations didn't feel proper. I lashed out at him. And he said, no one noticed, so it was no big deal. He just wanted to make sure everyone got an invitation since the whole family was there. I was so mad. No wonder the guests gave me weird looks before walking out. What's worse was that my wife's family saw this and were upset, and I feel awful and embarrassed. I was infuriated. I yelled at him and told him to leave immediately. My dad and stepmom and others got involved, but he left after I insisted. My dad berated him, but just said that this is how he is, being insensitive. My stepmom said that I shouldn't have kicked him out in front of everyone, her side of the family, and disrespecting the family. She said no one was noticing, and that he thought this was an opportunity for him to make sure they know about his wedding. I argued with her and other family members for hours about it. My dad's side of the family said they were upset because of what he did, and my stepmom's side of the family were upset I kicked him out. My stepmom is now contacting me to get me to talk to my brother and get right with him. To add, my stepmom never sees anything wrong with my brother's behavior, no matter what he does. She always tries to defend him, either directly or indirectly, and Dad isn't doing a damn thing about it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Who in their right mind thinks handing out wedding invitations during a funeral is okay? That's the most insensitive thing I've heard of. And what's wrong with mailing the invitations? I've known many people to send them through the mail and have received them in the mail myself. It's so commonplace. I'm so sorry your own brother did this to you. Not the a-hole. At some point, you likely need to RSVP that you aren't going to the wedding. I don't think your brother will intuit that. Be sure to give his intended an early heads up on why you won't be there. I'm so sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Your brother is selfish and unsympathetic, and your wife deserves to have an undisrupted service. I'm so sorry for your loss and wish you the best. If anyone embarrassed your family, it was your brother, not you. They told me kicking him out was extreme, yet saw nothing wrong with him doing what he was doing. Excusing his behavior, saying that no one noticed. But he was giving the invitations to guests who came to mourn and extend their condolences. I'm not even sure if they think that I was okay with that, but their looks were telling. Not the a-hole. Having his phone on alone settles it for me. The rest is even worse. Since when is a grieving spouse no one? I bet everyone was keeping quiet. They understood you were the one to be protected and/or were confused if the serious breach had your okay. I guess you need to hear this. Your stepmom and brother are toxic. I think it's telling you referred to him with a half qualifier instead of brother with the same parent. Info, you don't have to call him family at all. Toxic families always go after the one with good boundaries, never the offender. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for saying my sister is not welcome in my home? I, 20 female, live with my best friend/roommate. I have a sister, 21 female, and a brother, 23 male. My sister and I have a pretty rocky relationship and I don't like having her in my space. Living with her for 18 years was hard enough, and I swore I would never do it again. She always wants something and is pretty toxic, accusing people of doing stuff to her and turning her back on people. Some examples. She befriended a girl who bullied me for years and brought her home for Christmas my last year living with my parents. This is a girl who bullied me to the point my parents had to change my school, and then she cyberbullied me. Her best friend's stepbrother treated her horrible for existing, and my sister ended up dating him and telling her best friend to get over herself. Then told everyone her best friend was a selfish baby for trying to interfere in her love life. More recently, she told our parents that she found out I broke the cell phone they bought her when she started high school, but actually, she sold it so they would buy her a better one, and she used that money in makeup. So now, she's now a single mom and she was kicked out of her place before Christmas. She asked to stay with me, and I said no. I told her to go to our parents. Our parents were disappointed and said I should have let her stay at least for a night. They then wanted to know if I would let them all come for Christmas, and I said no. I told her and them that she's not welcome in my home because I don't trust her. They think I'm being really unkind. I just don't want to be around her toxicity. My brother says I'm doing the right thing, even though he never had issues with her. But he knows she doesn't care about screwing people over and would never consider their feelings. She told me that if I won't ever let her into my home, then I can never have a relationship with her daughter. I told her that was her choice as her daughter's mom. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have a sister who's a full-blown sociopath who also engages in these same types of shenanigans. Calling it shenanigans is like saying kids who rip wings off of insects are playing. These are people straight up terrorizing. Not the a-hole. You don't have to justify or explain. It's your place. Your parents probably didn't want her at their place. She can suck it up because she burned the bridges you guys had. Unless she shows improvement, you owe her nothing. Even if she does somehow become a better person, people can change. OP is still in no way obligated. Family is important, but family is also what you make it. She owes her sister nothing. Not the a-hole. She's toxic and you don't need to put up with her anymore. Everyone else can suck it up. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for making my brother miss his important flight? I, 24 female, am close to my brother, 29 male, but is pretty unreliable. He is late for absolutely everything. Everyone in our family knows this. Background. A few weeks ago, our sister, 27 female, got into a terrible car accident. She spun out on black ice, a semi-truck hit her head-on, and she ended up in the hospital. Her little car was totally and completely crushed. It's a miracle that she's alive, and we're also grateful that it turned out okay. Well, this incident really shook me up and gave me a wake-up call. I've been extremely nervous to drive after seeing my sister's totaled car, so I have been super careful. I go the exact speed limit, or under. I keep longer lengths between myself and other cars. I don't do anything risky at all. I know it sounds a bit paranoid, but the accident is still so fresh for our family. A few days ago, my brother had a job interview in another state. He asked me to drive him to the airport in the morning, and I agreed. I told him I'd pick him up 30 minutes earlier as I refused to speed for him. I reminded him of our sister's accident and how I'm trying to be more careful driving on icy roads. He told me I was crazy, but he agreed to be ready at the time. The morning of his flight, I arrived at the agreed time. Of course, in typical fashion, my brother was running late. We ended up leaving an hour later than he had planned because he wasn't fully ready. The whole ride to the airport, my brother was yelling and swearing at me to speed up because he was going to miss his flight. I went slightly over the speed limit, but I told him I didn't feel comfortable going faster in traffic. Also, the roads were slick. I started panicking. He continued to huff and puff and flip out at me. When we got to the airport, he grabbed his bags and sprinted inside. I left. He ended up texting me that he missed his flight, and that I ruined his job opportunity for being a freaking coward. He won't talk to me at all now. I feel really bad for making him miss his flight and job interview, but I won't apologize for being careful after our sister got into a traumatizing accident. Am I the a-hole? As the old saying goes, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. You told him you'd pick him up at a certain time, and he was an hour late. Accident or no, he's the one who was not responsible with his time management. Not the a-hole. By the way, sorry about your sister. My fiancé has me commute in his SUV-style car because he calls my little commuter an accordion waiting to be smushed. From what I've read, he was an hour late to his original time. So, he was late for 90 minutes. Not the a-hole OP. Not the a-hole. He was an hour late. Not you. He inconvenienced you by making you wait while he finished getting ready. He sounds narcissistic and immature. Please don't do him any more favors. And this would be the case regardless of the sister's accidents or his willingness to speed. Not the a-hole. His inability to be ready on time caused him to miss his flight. If he had his stuff together, you would have never needed to rush. That, and Opie made a prudent decision by driving carefully instead of recklessly in unsafe driving conditions. The brother does not get to risk others' lives as well as his own, just because of his own tardiness. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out of my house after he cancelled my job interview? Please hear me out first. I'm a single mom, 45, of a 20-year-old son, Chris. Chris is in college and he studies engineering. Being a single mom at a young age was not easy for me. Despite everything I've been through, despite my own family giving up on me, I made sure my son got the life he deserves. He was/is my everything. I worked several jobs that were different from each other's, and I was able to own a home after years of renting. More importantly, I was able to provide Chris with an opportunity for an education. Recently, Chris moved back in with me because he no longer could pay rent. His next semester is starting soon, and he's been talking to me about the possibility of selling my house and buying a house in the city where he studies, so he would no longer pay rent and said it was better to move. I declined, for several reasons. 1. I grew up here. My old friends live here. 2. The city is expensive. 3. This home means a lot as it represents my hard work and sacrifices. Chris didn't like that. He threw a fit and kept bringing it up, trying to convince me to do it. Last week, he kept pressuring me. I told him that I found a potential job at a company and it was an opportunity because I've been looking for 3 months. He took it as in I don't want to move because of my new job, but it's not true. Yesterday, I found out that he contacted a company and canceled my interview and then deleted my email. I use a computer and it's in the office, so he gets access to it. He told me he wanted to check his college website for some reason, and I thought nothing of it. That was the night before. I found out yesterday morning that someone canceled my interview. I confronted Chris about it. First, he denied. Then he said that the company wasn't what I deserved anyway, and I can find a better position when we move to the city. I was so mad at him for ruining this for me and pressuring me to move, leaving me no choice. I felt as if he was trying to sell the house from under me. After he said he found a potential buyer and just wanted to make things go smoothly, and all I have to say is yes. I yelled at him and argued with him, telling him that he was an adult and should manage his own issues. Told him to get a job but not expect me to turn my life upside down for him. He yelled back, saying I was selfish, and I ended up kicking him out of the house. His aunt knew and was yelling at me for what I did, saying I was treating him poorly and he was hurt by me. Just to clarify, his aunt is my sister. She doesn't have children of her own, and Chris considers her as a second mother to him. She's always defending him no matter the reason. He hasn't left town yet, and she wants me to call him. Now for the top comments of this post. Not a-hole. He is 20. Legally, your house is under your name. He is doing shady things like that around your house, then he is being shady in general. When it comes to family, it is difficult to do anything negative, but he needs to learn about consequences. Make him pay rent, a normal rate, no discount. If he wants internet, then he needs to pay for it. Lock your computer, and if he complains, then give him $10 and tell him to go to the library. Now for the aunt, tell her that you needed a job, and if they don't listen to both sides of the story, then they can screw off. Not at a-hole. If you ever accept in your home again, charge him rent. He's being extremely ungrateful and entitled. It is none of his aunt's business, and her son needed the reality check. I never expected this from him. I don't know why he thought by doing this he'd be convincing me to move out and sell the house. Moving is not easy, and I believe that is my decision in the end, despite him being desperate. He shouldn't expect me to put everything on hold, leaving everything and move to the city. Not a-hole. Your son is a user. He wants to use mommy's money to buy himself a house in an area he wants. To live in without having to lift a damn finger, pay any money out of his own pocket, or do any of the work. This move benefits him only. In his fantasy land, he doesn't have to pay rent, he doesn't have to work, he doesn't have to commute. He can just depend on mommy to pay all of his bills, buy him his dream home, and go to college with no worries. He destroyed your job prospects, and you may not be able to get an interview again, because this type of interference looks really bad and will be difficult to explain to an employer. Your son is delusional if he thinks he has any entitlement to use your money and the sale of your house for his own personal gain. He deserved a reality check and be removed from the home. Not a-hole. If Auntie thinks you're being cruel, she can take him in and see what happens. I don't have a good relationship with her. And so, she finds this as a chance to berate me and be protective of him. I'm not sure what he told her, but he shouldn't have done that. Am I the a-hole for kicking my ex out of my house when she tried to attend the memorial thing we were doing for my daughter? My daughter recently passed away. Everything is still so fresh, and we just buried her a month ago. My sweet angel was only 4, and it still kills me every day. So maybe this is why my reaction was too strong, or I don't know. My ex-wife took off when my daughter was a year old. She said she realized she wasn't ready to be a mom yet, and it was all too overwhelming for her. We divorced, and she never asked for any sort of visitation. Her family are the only people I kept in contact with for my daughter's sake. They were in communication with her, but even they couldn't get her to come around. I'm still holding a lot of resentment towards her for leaving us. Initially, I was against allowing her into the funeral, but her family convinced me and at least she didn't try to approach me or sit next to me. My family was invited to come to my house for an after-funeral type of thing. Just for everyone to be together, eat some of my daughter's favorite food and other home-cooked meals made by my mom. Truth is, I didn't want to be alone. My family understood that, so that's why they organized it. Then my ex shows up, and my anger just flares up. My sister had seen her at the funeral, so she invited her over. I first got mad at my sister because she knows I don't want her around me, then told my ex to get out of my house. My ex didn't want to because she's also grieving and in need of support, and I told her then she can get it from her own family. But that's just not welcome here. I yelled at her to get out because I don't want her anywhere near me again. She's still insisting she stay because her family won't give her that support. I said to go to my daughter's grave then and comfort herself. My sister took her finally and they both left, but my mom wasn't happy. Neither were a few of our mutual friends. They get them in the middle of my grief, but still they think it was a huge overreaction to yell at her like that, then keep her from getting any support when she probably deeply regrets not being there. Not sure if it's my stubbornness telling me I'm in the right, or if I'm actually wrong in this scenario. So I thought maybe for people who aren't emotionally involved, they'd be able to give a better verdict. Am I the a-hole? Now for the verdict. Not the a-hole. Very telling about her personality that she thought it would be appropriate to come over, even if she was invited. And refused to leave when told by the grieving father. Repeatedly. Not the a-hole, Opie. I'm sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Let it out, my friend. Hiding it and holding it in will be worse for you in the long run. You set a boundary and it was crossed. I'd be angry too. You feel however you need to feel, for as long as you need to. I'm so sorry for what you've lost and what you're going through. I hope you're getting all the support you need. Everyone else in my family has been giving me amazing support. Mostly my older brother. He lost his son in 2015 and knows exactly what I'm going through. Has your sister maintained contact with your ex that you're aware of? This sounds like it was an attempt at forced reconciliation in an environment where they could use the excuse of her grief as a means of leverage, even at the expense of your own. Something is very off here, and I'm so sorry you had to experience it the way you did. Not the a-hole. I'm not sure, maybe. They were close before we divorced. My sister never mentioned anything, and I never asked. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not helping my ex with her new child? I, 27 male, and my ex, 26 female, had a very rocky relationship. We were together for 3 years and I thought everything was going great. Until she decided to get with one of her best friends. I did kick her out and got the locks changed. She came and got her stuff while I was home. We blocked one another and do not keep in touch. Some of our mutual friends still hang with her, and one told me that she was currently pregnant. I wasn't shocked as she and the guy spent a lot of time together. I was invited to attend a party and saw her with her friend. She did look my way a few times, but I completely ignored her. Before the party ended, she approached me and asked if we could talk. I agreed to be polite, but then she asked if I could help her out with a child. I told her no. It wasn't my responsibility, and wished her good luck. She started crying and her friend came over to see what was going on. I left the party and texted a mutual friend that I didn't want to be at the same event. Am I the a-hole for not helping my ex with her new child? Edit. I want to clear things up for those asking if it's my child or not. She and this other guy friend have been together for about a month before we broke up. If the child is mine, I would definitely help out. I'm going to bring up the idea of a DNA test. More info needed. Is there a possibility this is your child? Edit. Based on what's been said since, you're the a-hole, as it could be your child considering you're getting a paternity test. I kicked her out about 3 weeks ago. Most people don't even know they're pregnant till 6 to 8 weeks, so I'd say a good chance it's his if they were active. Whoa, you only kicked her out within the last 24 days based off a previous post. There's a solid chance that's your kid, unless y'all were not active. Way more info needed for this. Yes, more info is needed. Why are you sure it's not yours? What are you gonna do if you find out it's yours? We need more details. If you weren't active for the recent months and you know she cheated on you, there might be a chance that it's not yours. I'm gonna go with a controversial "you're the a-hole." Based on your post history, you broke up less than a month ago. Many don't even know they're pregnant until 5 to 6 weeks, so there's good chances the kid is yours. You have a responsibility to your child, even if you hate their mother. This means either being involved in their life or stepping away and paying child support. You don't get to say the child you helped make is not your responsibility, simply because you're no longer with the mother. Of course, there are chances it isn't yours, but from the info you've given, it doesn't seem you took the time to confirm this before deciding. If you update saying there's already been a DNA test or you guys haven't been intimate in a long time, I'll for sure change my vote to not the a-hole. Edit. Changed voting due to update. Agree with others that him ghosting her without DNA test and leaving out key information from original post is kinda sketchy. However, he's ready to do the right thing and is obviously hurt by all this, so I say cut him some slack. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to ask my husband for details about his brother's funeral so my sister and niece can attend?" 3 years ago, it came out that my married brother-in-law was having an affair with my sister because she decided to contact my in-laws to announce her pregnancy to them. It also turned out that some of my family knew and were helping it to happen. When it all came out, my brother-in-law threw my sister under the bus and completely cut her off. He had nothing to do with his daughter and neither did his family. My sister and some family members went on a rampage and sent his heavily pregnant wife nasty messages and evidence of their affair. In the end, I was put in a position where I had to choose between cutting off my entire family, even the ones who had no knowledge of the affair, or losing my marriage. My husband and I are currently going through a divorce, so yeah. My brother-in-law recently passed away. My sister, who is still convinced that he loved her and they were soulmates, is desperate to go to his funeral. She claims she wants to go so her daughter can say goodbye to her father. She knows his family won't give her any information, so she is pushing me to ask my husband for information since he has been contacting me a lot recently. I refused to, because I don't want to be put in the middle of any more of her drama. She's already costed me a lot. My sister is now lashing out at me, but surprisingly my parents, who are appalled by her affair, are also on her side. They think I should find out for my niece's sake. Am I the a-hole for continuing to refuse? Not the a-hole. If he and his family had nothing to do with your niece, she really has no one to say goodbye to. Your sister just wants to go make a scene. It's not your job to help her turn a memorial service into the Jerry Springer show. Right? The niece is too. This isn't about her. She doesn't know anything about this man. There is no benefit to taking her to the funeral. In fact, she would almost certainly be a distraction. Almost as big of a disruption as Opie's sister, who is apparently hell-bent on causing more pain to Opie's ex's family at the funeral. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. But boy, your family really needs some therapy sessions as a group. Info. You said your brother-in-law and family had cut your sister and niece completely out and had nothing to do with them. Did your niece ever meet her father? Know who he was? Your sister is living in some fantasy world where she thinks they were a family. If the arrangements are made in a paper or online obituary, tell her to look there. You don't need to make your divorce any harder. Tell your sister and family you only have contact through lawyers now with your soon-to-be ex, and probably won't be given that information. No, she never met him. I need clarification. While I understand that not everyone in your family knew and are innocent, the rest of your family are distasteful. Your sister made her bed and should lie in it, and now it's cost you your marriage. Your brother-in-law should have been held responsible as well for the affair/pregnancy, but I don't understand why you chose them over your own happiness. I chose my parents, not the rest of them. I told my husband I wouldn't cut them off no matter what. I think things would have blown over, but my sister just wouldn't stop and kept making things worse. It cost you your marriage. I don't understand why you chose them over your own happiness. It didn't cost her her marriage. No one outside of your marriage can end it. What ended her marriage is her husband placing completely unreasonable one-sided demands on her on threat of divorce. He demanded that she not only cut her cheating sister and enabling family out, he also demanded that she cut out innocent family members, including her own parents and her newborn niece who his deadbeat cheating brother abandoned. Meanwhile, he remained in contact with his deadbeat cheating brother and didn't hold him responsible nor stepped up for his niece. It says a lot about his morals and commitment, or lack thereof. This man threw away his marriage to Opie because she wouldn't cut off her parents after his brother cheated on his pregnant wife and abandoned his child. I'm not sure there was much happiness to be found with him. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for taking in my sister's family against my girlfriend's wishes? So my 30 male, sister 29 female, had to renovate her house due to a tree crashing down and taking out the roof, and she asked me if she and her family, niece 9 female, nephew 5 male, and brother-in-law 32 male, could move in with me. I didn't see an issue with this as I have more than enough space at my place. 5-bedroom house. So I said sure if they can chip in on bills like electricity and internet. They agreed, and they've been here for about 2 weeks now. Yes, I didn't clear this with my girlfriend, 28 female, and she's mad about that, but hear me out. My girlfriend doesn't even live with me. She rents an apartment that's closer to her work, and we've only been dating for 3 months, so I didn't feel the need to ask her. If she did live with me, of course I would have asked her. Well, yeah, she's fairly upset, since she feels that my sister and her family is invading our space, and she no longer feels welcome at my home with kids running around and 2 adults she doesn't know all that much. To me, my sister is my family, and I was able and willing to help out. But my girlfriend still thinks I should have cleared it with her before just saying yes. Personally, I don't think it's an issue, but my girlfriend thinks I'm the a-hole even though we rarely spend time at my house anyways, due to her not wanting to drive back home to sleep or to wake up earlier to drive to work. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's your house. She doesn't live there. You're helping your family. It doesn't sound like a permanent thing. They're contributing to bills and are just in need of assistance. Girlfriend should recognize you're a good family man helping and not make it about her. Thank you. Yeah, it'll only be until the renovations are good, but the weather has been pretty bad lately, so they're thinking it'll take 2 to 3 months. Don't know how all that works, but I'm happy to house my sister in the meanwhile. Girlfriend is kind of throwing up some red flags, especially for a 3-month-old relationship. 3 months in and she's referring to his house as our space? That's a pretty massive red flag. Not the a-hole. You're doing something kind for your sister and her family in your house. Plus, it's only temporary. Your girlfriend doesn't live there, and you've only been dating 3 months. It's ridiculous that she thinks she should have a say in the matter. Thank you. My thoughts exactly. Like, if she actually did live with me, I'd say she should have some weight for the final decision. But since she doesn't, I didn't really feel the need to ask. Came in thinking differently with your title, but no, you're not the a-hole. Your girlfriend doesn't even live with you, and y'all had only been dating for 3 months. She's acting awfully entitled for someone who actually has no say in who you bring into your house. Also, good on you, Opie, for helping your sister out in her time of need. A tree wrecking her room must have sucked a lot. Thank you. Yeah, my sister was an emotional wreck when it happened, and called me up crying in the middle of the night since I'm the only family in our city. Of course I'll help her out. She's my sister, who I actually like and love spending time with, and I love my niece and nephew. And my brother-in-law's pretty cool. He was my friend from even before he married my sister. No ill will, just stating what's up. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my in-laws I didn't sign up to be their babysitter when I married my husband? My husband and I had a baby boy 6 months ago. I decided to leave my job and became a stay-at-home mom. Before I left my job and before our son, my husband's brothers and sister had all pressured me to be their emergency contact for their kids' school. It even asked me to leave work early sometimes to babysit their kids after school. I always said no, because working in a daycare doesn't mean I can leave whenever I want, which they appeared to think could happen. Plus, they liked the idea of someone with a degree in child development and care being in charge of their kids. But now that I no longer work, it's even more an ordeal. My husband sat them down and told them I am not their personal and free babysitter, and they cannot expect me to wrangle all their kids, all the different schools myself, and that they need to keep paying like always. It didn't help, so he spoke to them again. I ended up getting bombarded the other night while I was awake with a crying baby, and I told them via text I didn't sign up to be their babysitter when I married my husband, and they needed to accept my no because nothing was going to change. They said I signed up to be part of the family, and part of being family's babysitting to help, so I'm the a-hole. Am I? Not the a-hole. Your in-laws are entitled pricks, and I'm glad your husband is backing you up. Just go ahead and set their contacts to mute in your phone, and continue enjoying new motherhood. Yeah, if it was second or third emergency contact, It may be asked to watch the in-laws' kids 5 to 6 times a year during your non-working hours. I might say that's what family does. But every day? No, that's what mom and dad does. Not stay home. My aunt was a registered childminder, like private home daycare in the UK. My entire childhood, she was asked to take care of me twice. Both occasions were last-minute emergencies. Once, my parents were stuck in a snowdrift waiting for rescue. The second time, my mother had been admitted to hospital. Those are scenarios where you call free emergency childcare from your relative what you describe as a paid-for, planned, and contracted service. Not stay home. This should be top comment. What you described as a paid-for, planned, and contracted service. Bam! To add, OP, you are caring for your own infant child, and you are not working. Tell them that. No means no. Also, if/when you return to work in your field, they can pay you for time and services if you so choose to take them on as clients, because you are a professional. Not stay home. What are they offering to do for you in exchange? Nothing, literally. And they weren't even offering food to feed all these kids. Good God, shut it down. I'm sorry that they took your care and labor for granted. You deserve respect and gratitude for your caring work.